Movie Crap Live. Hello to anyone listening. Hello. This is Movie Crap Live in case that last one got cut off. Thank you all very much for being here tonight. Guess I'm just waiting for to hear myself just to make sure I'm there. Hello, Sunspot Mill, Austin. Discount Viscount, there's me. Bruce Parker, Purple Goop, hello. Send out the tweet. It is sent. That's gone. Hey, Cornbread. I like this big cat thing Cornbread's got going. It's kind of fun. Bruce Parker, Sleepy Time 4 Cat Productions, El Mono Loco, Cornbread, Twisted Razor, Gang Sinram. Hello. I see you. Mo Kitch. How's it going? Nathaniel Fogo, Austin. A guy named Crystal. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Emblood T, Chris M. Oh, Bloxy with the first super chat of the night, which makes me reveal myself. Please don't skip me again this time. Sunspot Mill, I thought I said you. Sunspot Mill. Will, how's it going? Sunspot Mill, I'll say it a couple times. Coral Tender. Sunspot Mill, I think I saw you in Animat stream today. Jordan Salafalo, Bloxy Oxenwinkle. I was just watching. I was not. Mr. Totes, K-Master, Major Mekazawa. Okay, let's just switch over and I'll read this awesome super chat from Bloxy. Let's do the fade. There we go. Hello everyone. How's it going? All right. Sorry. Okay, hold on. We got two there. Okay. Bloxy says, is ICP now officially better than the Gorillaz? I guess at this moment there's a bit of a competition, so yes, I don't know. We'll see. Cheers to you, Bloxy. I'll talk about that in a minute. And moving down the road, hello, Disco Spider, Reese Lolita, Elwood DD, message retracted, and not plausible. I actually never keep the image, TuneJ73, not plausible, of SpongeBob. I literally find it again every time. That's not a joke. I refuse to keep it, which is stupid. I really should. I probably have it in a folder, but I don't ever go back to it. And I really should. You think I would, but I'm an idiot. Austin says, happy Passover. Watch the Prince of Egypt review. Thank you very much for that. I think it was a good review. I guess I should have posted that somewhere. It felt weird, but you can watch it. Search my name and Prince of Egypt review, and you can watch it. Cheers to you, Austin. Thank you for the throwback video shout out. Yes, thank you everyone who is here live. Thank you everyone who watches later. I guess people don't. Oh, hello, Chris M. If I didn't say Will, Bruce Parker, everyone, TuneJ, Sunspot Mill again. Thank you everyone who's watching. If you're watching now, Zodberg's here. If you're watching now, I'll try to go through, I go through everything. If you're watching later, there'll be time code or little chapters through the thing so you can go through them. So if you do not want to hear me do my little intro thing and want to hear me talk about a specific topic, whatever that may be, just use that and go to it. You don't have to listen to me talk about normal things or whatever. If you're watching later, because more people actually do watch these later. And shout out to you. If you're watching later, comment below. Don't do it now, because I'll know. Because we're live. But if you're watching it now, you heard me say that now. So when is now? Think about that one. Anyway, hello, Legends P. So, this week was a cool week. I got my first vaccination, which I said on Twitter. I did that at, hey, Ace the Wind Rider, Jacob Atkins. I did that at the Javits Center, which was nice. They actually had a live orchestra playing at the end where you wait for 15 minutes because apparently you're supposed to do that. Hello, Beta Wave as well. And it was a little emotional because I'd only been to New York Comic Con once. I want to make that clear. Not that I have a ton of memories there, but my last time I was there, really, other than to catch a cab, because if you ever want to catch a cab, by the way, and you're in that area and there's not a convention going on, just do it there. It's so great. It's amazingly easy to catch it. I mean, no one needs to do that because of Uber, but even with Uber, it's a great pot. They just pull right up. Nothing's there. Genius. I gotta say that. But other than that, um, yeah, and so it's weird to look down a hallway and go, oh, that's where I was with New York Comic Con. That's where I was with whatever friend, and that made me a little emotional just to see like how the world's changed since then. That's where I was with Glenn and Nolan and Monsters. It was just like that, and Nintendo or whomever, Roundtable, all those guys. If you saw my video, it was literally like, if you see a shot of that video, it was like where I got my vaccination was like at a booth type thing, and that was very bizarre. I have to say that's something that's gonna that really stuck with me. Actually, it was like just seeing in my mind, I was cutting to those memories. So that was a little intense. I think especially to be like somewhere where I was probably asking someone like, oh, here's my card. If you want to, I can be on your podcast. And now I'm getting a vaccine because of COVID. So, or like literally where I was hearing the orchestra, I remember there was a booth for the movie Glass. Or was it Glass or was the last one? Split? Yeah, it was Glass. There was a booth, a comic book store for the movie Glass. That was weird. I gotta say. So I don't like how this is cutting me off. Should I have moved this up maybe? Maybe I'll move it up. Let's okay. Sorry. It's cutting my head off. You gotta have some headroom, right? That's like a thing. Gordon Willis said that once. Does anyone know who that is? Probably not. All right. Before we get, I think there's a lot of stuff to cover. I don't think what else. Oh, we watched E.T. again. E.T.'s still good. I have some thoughts when we get to the Seth Rogen thing, because I know some of you watched the earlier one about Spielberg's movie based on his life, and I have some thoughts after watching E.T. We watched Up Tonight. We've been watching some good movies we watched before, but they're good movies. But man, E.T. is a good fucking movie, I gotta say. There's like, I've never not liked E.T. I don't think this is I don't think that's a controversial opinion. But one thing I will say about E.T., I do not trust Keyes. Like when he says, I met an alien, bullshit. Never believe that. I don't know if anyone's told me this, or I've told this before on Twitter, but this is a long-standing me thing or Jim thing or whatever, is like I really don't ever believe that Keyes saw an alien. I really don't. I really don't believe he ever saw the alien. That is bullshit. He's lying to Elliot. I do not believe that. I will never let that go. Anyway, Nattenbox has a super sorry. Nattenbox 64 says, it's been discovered that the Gorillaz members had no control of the NFT situation. I will talk about that. I'm sorry. I will talk about that. But you're right. I do have an actual statement from someone who is not Damon or Jamie, but isn't that I will read. But you are right. So everyone calm down if you're watching this for that. Cheers to you, Nattenbox 64, though, for the super chat. That's very nice of you. And we have one for Catbot 158. Got my vaccine in an abandoned Sears at the mall. Weird to see National Guard riding escalators and eating in the nearly empty food court. That is weird. It is weird when they're in places like that. But cheers to you. Hold on. Cheers to you, Catbot 158. Cheers to you. Thank you very much. And Austin, and then we'll get into the Patreon stuff. The government agents are the real heroes of ET. St. Powers. What? Cheers to you, though. We watched the OG cut, which I also think the original cut makes more sense because, like, sorry, Zane. Sorry. I very much apologize. I did eventually say it was Zane, but I apologize, Zane. I think, yeah, that cut works because kids should be afraid of guns. Like, you should make guns be scared. I don't understand. Okay. So, I don't think I have too much, else to add. But let's get into it. All right. So, first off, thank you everyone who gave to Izzy's GoFundMe. I understand it has been funded. So thank you if you did that. Thank you very much for doing so. That was really amazing of you. Secondly, okay, hold on. Will says, we have another super chat for that. Recently watched Bad Trip on Netflix with Eric Andre, and I am an hour and a half, hold on. And I am up to an hour and a half of juvenile baldashery, I guess. That is not high concept or challenging in any way. That I still enjoyed regardless. So, like, the sky's blue. I like that review. I kind of want to watch Bad Trip. Everything I've heard about it, and Will's been very much pro Bad Trip for a little bit. But, yeah, I like that Netflix is promoting it, and Eric Andre, I think he was on Howard Stern, he's been promoting it, so it looks like it does actually look like fun. Maybe I should check it out. But a good time, looks like a good time kind of movie. Maybe we need that right now, which Netflix has been good at providing that for us. Anyway, cheers to you, Will. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, so I don't know if Izzy's GoFundMe is over, but if you would like to, let her know. Anyway, so this apologies to Zane Powers and Austin for misidentifying, and thank you for the super chat, Zane, and thank you very much for your generosity, Will, as well. So this and everything I do is predominantly supported by you, the fans, either through the super chats during the show when I take a swig of Red Bull and I read it out or answer your question or hear whatever you have to say, or through Patreon, which is linked below in the description. Patreon has all sorts of cool stuff like postcards, which I'm going to mail out this week, I promise. And it's been a crazy week. It's always been a crazy week. Skype calls, more power in the movie review vote, which that video is on Monday. My commentary series where I give exclusive commentaries on Knock Force and the Cleese series, which I think the last one will finally be this week. And all sorts of cool exclusive stuff. So if you would like to support the show either through Patreon or through Super Chat, that is always very much appreciated if you are financially able to do so. If you just want to just watch the show and just watch the videos just in a passive way, that's totally cool. If you click the like button, that's always appreciated. If just watching is fine, the subscribing is good as well. If you want to turn on notifications, I've been doing a lot more premieres lately, or instant premieres. You would get notified for them if you have notifications turned on. If you want to be included in that, I'm probably going to do that more for reviews and like not segment like movie crap shorts. I'm not going to do that so much unless it's like a meme thing and everyone, or a meme thing. Not Mimi, my grandma, but, there's reasons to do that if you want to. You can be along for the ride. Those are usually kind of late night, as you can tell. I'm like a superhero who only makes YouTube videos at night when his kid's asleep, basically. So there's benefits of that, and it helps support the show, and you watch more videos and stuff like that if you want to do that. But if you're just here once a week or watching now, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. As well as the Discord, which is run amazingly by Austin and Zane Powers, who are absolutely different people, and I'm a jerk. And they do a great Discord. It's a wonderful community. If you like the chat that you're seeing right now and you'd like to interact with them, either you don't get to hang out in the chat or you can't be here during the show, they're always there. There's great channels like a movie chat. They do a movie, there's the movie chat channel. They do a movie watch along once a week on Fridays. They actually did King Kong vs. Godzilla, and my review came out directly after by sheer coincidence, which I didn't know actually and didn't plan. There's gaming chat. There's a novelty card chat whenever I get new cards, which is probably not for a while because these Godzilla cards are holding up pretty well. There's general, which actually I asked, like, hey, do you think I should cover this? Should I cover that? What are you thinking? There's the suggestions for Jim channel. There's these Ask Jim channel where you can always ask me a question and I will answer them. I think I'm up to date. I mixed this up last week too. Oh, I did. Fuck. I'm sorry, Zane Powers. I do feel bad about that. But anyway, they do a great job running a great Discord, and I really appreciate them, and they're great people, but also it is a great community, and if you want to join it, you absolutely should. Anyway, all right, so there's a lot to talk about. I know people have, first, before we start the show, I know people have a lot of opinions, and maybe spirited opinions about what's going on. Let's all be cordial to each other in the chat and in the comments and everything like that. I understand tensions and emotions are rising and so forth, but try to be civil is what I'm saying. All right. How about we try to be chill? So, the first thing is Gorillaz and NFTs. Now, I barely know what NFTs are, although I know they're not really great for the environment, and I know they're really stupid. But I do know that a lot of companies want to start doing NFTs because you can make money off of them, and that seems to be the main thing that they are into. So for the Gorillaz 20th anniversary of their first album, they announced all the special 20th anniversary stuff, and they also said there's going to be an NFT element. We hadn't heard from Jamie or Damon, and it seemed to be more an official thing, but we did hear, at least from the bass player, who it seems like someone was DMing them and being sort of rude, which, by the way, don't assume sometimes, I understand, again, just be chill with people, but he said a lot of the time these things are out of even Damon and Jamie's control. I don't know, but I can tell you for certain is that they would never knowingly try and screw the plan up. So whatever this is probably being thought through by those that need to, especially if people are concerned about it anyhow. Have a good weekend. This is from the the current bassist of the Gorillaz. About the NFT situation, I find, or non-fungible tokens. Hey, Saberspark. I hope this doesn't happen. I hope artists are pointing out that they don't support these sort of things. I don't really like or get why people think this is at all something that artists should do. It just sounds like pretty shitty idea, something that has to take up a lot of room in server farms, which I think we're going to need that room going forward with all the information as our lives are moving more online. I think in the post-pandemic, making a priority out of server farms for shitty things like this will actually be not just an environmental issue, but almost maybe a human rights issue in the long term, which we actually need to get more into. It's specifically a pretty horrible thing that we would actually be doing this, I'm hoping, it sounds like from the Gorillaz, that this was not a decision. I've heard DC Comics has been exploring this. I've heard other companies have been thinking about it, but it doesn't seem to be something that the general public seems to be that into. If you want a better explanations, what I should say is Unsubbed Heroes, which I don't think he's in the chat now, but I'll mention him later if he is Marley, who full disclosure is my manager, has a podcast, Unsubbed Heroes, and he went through it and explained it a lot better with his friend Nick. You should listen to that podcast. You can find it on the podcast section. I listened to every one, by the way. But they did a much better job of explaining it, but they're very bad for the environment. I think if it was something you could keep on a drive and didn't need to constantly be using server farms the way they are, I would be fine with it. If you're I own this thing and it's on a drive in a shelf right here, there's a shelf you can't see, but there is one, then that's fine. But the fact that has to be in this constant thing is a really major issue and shouldn't be going on. I also know that Boss Baby will be explaining NFTs soon. That's not a joke. Later this week, Boss Baby will be explaining NFTs. I think if anyone's going to explain NFTs, it should be Boss Baby. And I think that makes the most sense. If we're going to have anyone explain it, it literally should be Boss Baby to promote Boss Baby 2. When is Boss Baby 2 coming out? To be honest, I don't know when any movie's coming out anymore because they've changed release dates so many times. How the fuck should I know? I don't know. Someone's going to say it and you're going to be wrong in the chat because they'll change it on Monday or something. I don't know when movies get released. It's confusing, but Boss Baby will explain NFTs, and I'm on board for, because that movie is garbage, and I'd much rather have someone in a dirty diaper explain NFTs to me than anything else. So the only thing I approve of with NFTs is Boss Baby taking NFTs and explaining them to people. That is the smartest NFT thing I've ever heard. That makes total sense because no one will take it seriously. Please keep the NFT Boss Baby collaboration going. If we're going to destroy the environment, at least let it be with Boss Baby. Someone put June 6, 2006. Boss Baby sucks and NFTs are awful. Just like, if you're going to own the rights to a piece of art, just like, couldn't you own it the old fashioned way and just buy like the actual rights to something if you're going to spend that much money? Like, the NFT thing just sounds like a douchey way to actually own copyright. Like, there's ways you can actually pay artists for the copyright to a painting that's physically there and like improves the planet instead of like, I don't know, it's on a server somewhere. Unless there was like, the only part that we get is like you had a screen that was always playing it, but couldn't you just do that with a drive or like a server behind it? I don't understand why it needs to be on there. It just, that sounds like there's so many more economical ways you could do it. But anyway, Boss Baby seems to think it's a great idea, so that's what we're doing. So I know a lot of people are here probably for the Lindsay Ellis thing. Let me just do two things and then we can just buy art. Thank you, Reese Lolita. I want to do two more things because that's going to be a big one. And all right, so we got an actual date for Mitchell's vs. the Machines, which is on April 30th on Netflix. Netflix is going to have a huge animation month between Arlo and Mitchell's vs. the Machines. They are really throwing down, by the way. I really respect that they are having two major animation producers, Titmouse and Phil Lord and Chris Miller, in the same month. What studio is doing that? They're really shooting out a shot in like a, not like in a gross way, like, sorry, they're shooting out a warning shot to animation studios like, look what we're doing in April, and people are noticing. Before I get on the next thing, we definitely need more Tobey Maguire narrating about NFTs during these uncertain times. That was good, Will. Thank you. Cheers to you. NF Quibbies. Oh, thanks, Bruce Parker. And also we got the first poster for Infinity Train Book 4. It looks like an Infinity Train poster. I think I said it's like if you're in a band and the other guy has a 9 to 5. I'm curious. It does feel like two friends who are kind of drifting apart. I think it'll be emotional, but again, we haven't seen it. But we're also getting that in April. Animation fans, by the way, we are getting fucking spoiled in April. A new Infinity Train, Arlo cartoon. We're also getting, I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting, by the way. We're also getting Mitchell's with the Machines. It's gonna be a good month. It's gonna be a good month. All right. So, Lindsay Ellis. Let's do this. It is time. So I saw this tweet before everything happened, and I saw her Twitter activity before, and I'm mainly speaking of what she said about Soul, which was already weird and not great. And then I saw what she said about Raya and the Last Dragon, which I will read now. These are not my words. BT Dubs, this is Lindsay Ellis, said, also watch Raya and the Last Dragon. I think we need to come up with a name for this genre that is basically Avatar the Last Airbender reduxes. It's like half of all YA fantasy published in the last few years. Anyway. I actually think there's a lot to do with how this happened. I don't think this is a simple... There's a lot of things converging at once, and a lot of this has to do with timing, her absolutely poor wording, because I think there are pretty much any review of Raya and the Last Dragon mention Avatar the Last Airbender. And I don't think before people... I've seen a lot of people say, oh, this is white people's opinion. I've seen a lot of actual Asian critics bring this up. I actually looked up to see if any of the writers and producers brought up Avatar the Last Airbender when discussing it, and I found one writer, Y Tran Bui, who writes for Slash Film, who I know is Asian, has brought up the Avatar the Last Airbender thing a lot of times, and she brought it up in the interview to the producer of Raya, and they said there is no actual connection. In case I was actually wondering, like, maybe there is one, and I don't know, because I kept seeing this on my Twitter feed. And the producer said there isn't. But I think the thing is, and why a big question is, so many critics brought this up. I brought it up. I think maybe Saber did. I hope I'm not calling you out, Saber. If you didn't, I apologize. But why did she get called out and none of us did? There's a couple reasons. One, our thesis wasn't this ripped off Raya, whatever, which when I saw this tweet, I was actually really disappointed by her actions, because to me it was just like, whatever this movie, it rips off Avatar, I'm done. And there's so many times I will talk to people about movies and I'll be like, well, yeah, didn't you notice this thing? And I'm all excited and they go, I don't know. It's just like this, and they'll just disregard it. And it's like really disappointing to such a degree that it just like kind of hurts. And when you see a critic do it, it bothers me more, because I'm like, I thought you had the skills to actually talk in an intelligent way. You know what I mean? And it just felt like with both Soul, what she said about the pro-life stuff, which is like, what? And Raya, it just felt very disappointing. I understand she herself has actually said, and she said in the Double Toasted interview, that she isn't really a critic. She's more of an essayist or so forth. And I would agree with that. She doesn't like just see any random movie. She mainly just sees things that she is interested in. And what interests her, like her perspective is basically like, most critics bring their perspective to material. And I would say her perspective is the material in almost anything she writes, which I think is somewhat, it works for her very much, but it almost overpowers her writing, because you basically don't really get much of anything else in there. And I've seen that's been going on with her material for a while, and you can 100% see this, because she basically just like goes, I've seen Avatar, whatever, with this new thing. And it does, I've noticed she has very disregard for things that are outside of her wheelhouse, unfortunately. I know she deleted her Twitter when people are getting upset about this. She should have apologized. I think 100% there should have been an apology. Her follow-up should have been, I'm very sorry. She could have explained her point further, which she did do that, but she didn't say, I'm very sorry if I offended someone, particularly anyone from Southeast Asia or Southeast Asian descent, who was very much offended by this. And she chose not to. Basically, she chose not to, and she chose instead to delete her Twitter, which I think was a major miscalculation. It's like, seeing the piling up on her, I guarantee a lot of it, there is a lot of sexism at play there, but I also think there's a certain amount of accountability, which she just chose to. Lindsay's Twitter is back? I didn't know that. Is that true? I'm curious about this. Now I will. Is it? I'm not seeing it. Well, I don't see it. I don't know. When I search it, she don't come up. But, oh, you mean the head coach of Miami, Ohio? I don't know. Austin deleted it. Or Adrian deleted it. Okay. I feel like this is a major letdown, really, for her as a critic. Wait, what did I do? Okay, I see what I did. But it's also that I think what should also be brought up, which I think is another factor in this, is when Raya came out and all these reviews came out, what had been happening. Obviously, there's been a lot of hatred towards a lot of Asian hate that's been going on, particularly in the news and everything like that. And that's been going on for this past year, but majorly hit a kind of major point with the mass shooting that happened recently. That happened obviously after all the reviews for Raya came out. Hello, Nina Garcia. And I think a lot of that backlash, none of us were going to get, because most of the people had, read the reviews and stuff. So like they weren't going to get upset. But Nattenbox64 says her deleting her Twitter account is going to be a meme. That's true. Cheers to you. But I think because that was building as well, people particularly do not want to see that kind of thing right now. The fact that she disregarded, Asian voices. And this, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, well, Raya was directed by white guys and stuff. It was actually written by two Asian women. But I think she didn't express it well. She didn't apologize. Those are two things that should have happened. She should have apologized. She should help be accountable. There's a lot of people saying, to kind of stop this idea of white supremacy. Stop, dismantle white supremacy, dismantle these kind of racist views. And the fact that she, I think, didn't find herself accountable is really, I think, somebody who isn't wanting to try to do those things, like is more interested in being right than taking accountability, which I found really disappointing, especially because she has wanted that from other people. Cineram says, wouldn't people be angry if she said sorry if anyone was offended? I don't actually agree with that. I think if she had a lot of, what we're really seeing is a lot of like both sides of like conservative Twitter and liberal Twitter and so forth, all kind of culminating in this kind of thing, which I think she was like number 2, number 1 trending on Twitter because of this. And I think if she had actually tried to, but I think the fact that she didn't and deleted it is really disheartening. I think that had led to it, but I sort of understand your perspective, however, Sinram. So cheers to you. Thank you for that. Lindsay apparently had this abortion documentary short she directed that was scrubbed from the internet. I think it was called The A Word Weird Lady. I've actually heard that might be good from people who have saw it before they knew who she was and stuff, but I think I had an opportunity to see it and I didn't, but I don't know. I think that, to speak on that, which is a separate thing, but cheers to you anyway. I think for anyone to go through that, it's a really hard, I'm assuming, experience. I don't know what her experience was because I have not seen that film. But if you want to deal with that through art, I think that's a very healthy thing. I think it was like her thesis or something. Again, haven't seen it. Don't know the full context. But I think I support people who go through something like that and they want to deal with it through art. So I think that's actually very healthy. But I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak on it beyond, that artistic thing. But ultimately, I just find it disappointing because, I thought better of her before this, and I do think, I didn't know about the Harriet Tubman thing that she did. Like, what the fuck was that? I had never seen that. I hadn't seen a lot of the tweets that were coming out from people, which I do feel like it's like she's very much like against transphobia and all these things, but like a lot of that is making other people feel like they should be accountable, and the fact that she didn't, I found disappointing. And I think like she probably should answer for it, to be honest with you. Like I really do believe that. I do think like she was probably scared because she has had some pretty severe canceling, and I sort of understand where she's coming from a little bit by deleting it, but I think there was some work she needed to do there. Adrian said Lindsay will get uncanceled like ContraPoints. I actually do believe, cheers to you. I don't know ContraPoints. I don't know much internet drama, and I don't really do that kind of thing here. But I sort of think she'll probably in a video said, I left Twitter for reasons, and that will be it. Like, I really think that's probably what will happen. But here's what I want to say about the whole thing. Really, for a long time, anytime I bring up that I do reviews or video essays or something, people said, I don't know anything about that, but I know Lindsay Ellis. And she's completely become this kind of poster child for criticism and video essays and everything like that. And that's a big mantle for anyone to hold completely. And I think she was rather good at holding it. And I don't know if she's the greatest video essayist in the world or anything like that, but she is the one people go to. And that is a major responsibility. And I think ultimately there's someone out there maybe watching this or out there that was majorly hurt by what happened today in a way that they're probably not feeling really that great about her. Maybe they were inspired by her or whatever. If you are, I'm very sorry, because that absolutely sucks when there's someone who you've looked up to or has inspired you. If they were inspired you and you're making stuff, those feelings are real, and take the good that you got from that. But I honestly, it sucks because I really do love criticism, and I love film criticism, and I love doing it. And it stinks when one of the major people basically just like throws it away on something that was not even very well thought out, and could have been a lot more nuanced and a lot smarter about it. And sure, you could go through the Avatar The Last Airbender influence, like look at Thundercats, the Thundercat show. Everybody said that about that show. There's tons of ways you could explain that influence in a really smart, interesting way that probably could have been a great video. I don't think you should do that now. Please, dear God, don't. But I really think she just really let the whole medium down by doing this. And I think it was a really big character moment that showed that she could have been bigger than it and built past it, and I wouldn't be doing a segment on it, you know? And I think ultimately it's just that I'm just insanely disappointed, I think. And I just find it to be a really sad moment that someone would do something like that, you know? But if you are hurt, and especially like if you are someone who is Asian and you really like Lindsay Ellis and you make video essays, I'm sorry. That sucks. I've had that happen to me with people I like, and it hurts, and I'm sorry. So let's move on, because whatever. It's just disappointing, and you know, I'm just disappointed in her. That's all. Honestly, when it came down to it, I just don't think that's okay. So I think, you know, let's move on. But I think she should. I think we all need an apology. That's all. Anyway, moving on. Sorry. Sorry, I wasn't gonna cry, but I got a little emotional. All right. I do not know who ContraPoints is. I don't know who David Dobrik is. I don't know who Gabe Gribbs is. So anything about that, I can't talk about. All right. SpongeBob. Let's do that. So I want to bring up this thing about the SpongeBob being banned thing. I'm not trying to be Mr. Trendy person or anything like that. With episodes being pulled. This whole like, let's bring this into cancel culture thing. It's not really that. Networks pull shows and episodes from shows all the time. Sometimes just because they stink. Sometimes because of moral reasons. It's a thing, and they have every right to do it. It's the same with like YouTube channels can decide, I don't want to have these videos on my channel anymore. They're unlisted or they're deleted. It's your intellectual property. They have chosen apparently to take out Midlife Crustacean and the Quarantine Crab. Midlife Crustacean apparently has a scene of like a panty raid, which isn't a real panty raid. They like go into Mr. Krabs' mom's house or something like that. No one noticed it was gone for a couple years, so any outrage I don't know how I've seen people get outraged, like, can you believe these episodes are gone? I'm like, but y'all didn't notice. Like, whatever with that one. The Quarantine Crab is about a quarantine and a disease, and I totally understand not having that out there. These are totally legally they're protected, and morally, if they feel that way, that's fine. Apparently there are certain ways to get them if you really want them. It doesn't sound like they're too obscure, but this is something very much that companies do. They've been doing it since before the Dr. Seuss thing, before they came up with that term cancel culture or something. That's something that they do 100%. They've always been able to do it, and they have been doing it. And there was like a Twitter thread about like, I think it was like restoring Citizen Kane. And he brought up that like, there's tons of Looney Tunes that like he had to help restore that like will never be seen again. And no one can name them except for like Tommy Stathis or something. So to me, it's like, no one wants to see the quarantine. Like, kids don't want to see a thing about quarantine right now. The panty raid thing they felt didn't morally live up, and they're not like awful. It's not like even the Simpsons episode, the New York episode, which they pulled from syndication for a while. It might be back, but who's watching syndicated Simpsons? Is that actually on Disney Plus? I think it is. I forget. Point is like, it happens. Companies do this. I know people are like, will they keep pulling episodes? Maybe, but SpongeBob, like, these are pretty not really the worst things that you can see. Now, I will say the panty raid thing, to me, it seems kind of innocent. It didn't seem that bad to me, but that's their choice. They can pull it from circulation if they want. SpongeBob has a lot of episodes. The fact that you didn't know and notice it was gone, I think is very telling. They legally can do it. It's the same thing with Dr. Seuss. They can pull books if they want to, if they feel now is not the right time for them. I understand fandom and everyone's like, I want the complete thing. You can buy the DVDs, like if that's what you really want. I suggest you do if you want to, or buy a series set or something like that, or download them if it really means a lot to you. But I get that these are for kids, and they felt the Quarantine Crab one makes 100% a lot of sense, and the Panty Raid thing makes sense to me also. So I don't think it's really the thing you think it is. I think it's just a company going like, we don't want to be doing that for kids right now. And it was just, it's just like, I'm not really upset about censorship, so whatever. Let's see. Okay. So Cartoon Network, this one I've noticed, by the way, this Cartoon Network story was such a blip of this week that like, I've never seen anyone talk about it, but Cartoon Network, apparently, according to their new CEO, is going to be going into more live action stuff. Now, this is not surprising. They've already approved Family Mashup, which is about two rival family a cappella groups, and then they get together and kind of have a blended family, sort of like the Brady Bunch or the newer blended family thing, I guess is Phineas and Ferb. But they're going to do more. The reasons they said is that girls tune out from animation earlier than boys. I guess they seem to have data about that, or they're just making a huge generalization and go to sitcoms. I really don't want my daughter to get into those shitty kid sitcoms because they are all really bad. What's happening is basically AT&T is looking at these brands that are rather unique and making them more general brands. And Cartoon Network has gotten to exist without being that for a long time. And that era is over. Before I go on, well, as the Super Chat, he says, I mean, at this point, I own all of the classic era of SpongeBob on DVD anyway, so midlife crustacean, thankfully, won't be lost to time. Ha ha. There you go. Will upload it, guys. Don't worry. Will has it. We can trust Will, right? So we're fine. Cheers to you. But look, they're going to TBF, cable channels are dying, so who cares? Nanbox 64. That is a damn good point. Damn good point, Nanbox. Cheers to you again. But they're basically making Cartoon Network more general. That's why you have the little kids programming. That's also why you have the live action stuff. And yeah, I think mainly they are looking at like what Ian said basically earlier is like they are looking at trying to making these things more streaming and less terrestrial. And also I should point this out, and I'll point this out again, and I feel like I've been saying this literally for years, and I'm not joking. I've literally said this to people for years. Kids don't watch TV the way everyone who likes animation treats it like it is. That is not what is going on. Kids watch streaming predominantly. It's like either YouTube or Netflix or whatever. Barely any kids care about what happens on Cartoon Network. This is like the weird, I don't understand why nobody gets this, but like the fact that they're playing live action shows, yeah, but if it's not on the HBO Max tab, I doubt any of these kids will notice. It is annoying. It does suck seeing this channel become this at this point. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but I think like what they're trying to do is trying to attract things under the Cartoon Network brand, but it does sound like they can expand beyond that. I hope so. I'm trying to be optimistic. It's not a good sign. They've only picked up one. They say they're going to do more. We'll see. I sort of think like you have all these cable things. Yeah, okay, Toon J is basically saying what I'm about to say, which is just call it WB Kids instead of Cartoon Network. I actually agree with that. Like just make a separate channel. Like you guys are AT&T, you have HBO Max, just make a separate tab because it's just like weird, if you are bizarrely surfing TV and you're over 40 or something, I guess. But or you're going through HBO Max. Wouldn't it be weird if we get to HBO Max? I'm like, Cartoon Network. Oh, cool. Family mashup. What? Like, you're just not gonna. It's weird. So just maybe that, I think that element they need to clear up, because I get the general entertainment idea. I get that it is a big brand, but it's called Cartoon Network. And like, let's not have it be this MTV thing where I'm like, I don't even understand, what does the M mean? Like, is it like, I remember this is one of my favorite press releases of all time, where IFC, which used to be called the Independent Film Channel, um, put out a press release and like, we're no longer the Independent Film Channel. IFC, they basically said IFC means nothing and it's just IFC now. And I was like, I cannot believe that happened. It was like glorious. I should have made that a t-shirt, that IFC means nothing. I love that. That's basically what they could do. They'll be like, Cartoon Network means nothing. Here's a marathon of family mashup, and then like 5 Teen Titans, because we still do that. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I know it's from the creator of Hannah Montana and all that, but we'll see what happens with Cartoon Network. It doesn't feel good, but it's what AT&T is doing with the brand, and that's, I guess they own it, so we can't stop them. So Ghosts of Tsushima, I guess, is being made into a movie with Chad Straczynski, who directed pretty much all the John Wicks. He co-directed it with the guy who did Hobbs and Shaw and all those other things, but he's the one who's creatively stayed throughout the entire franchise. Wow, the Whitest Kids You Know. You know, I almost worked with Whitest Kids You Know. It never worked out, but I was almost in the Whitest Kids You Know. True story. That we went to the same school at the same time. They were okay. They didn't seem to want to have anything to do with me. That is the whole story. There you go. Ghost of Tsushima, which will be directed by Chad Straczynski. I didn't know that this had such a Kurosawa thing. When I looked it up, apparently you can go in Kurosawa mode, which just means it's in black and white, which I call bullshit on, because Kurosawa made a lot of good movies in color, so fuck y'all. But I just, hello, Blaze the Vark. I think this could be cool, but previously I talked about Chad Straczynski doing this kind of Die Hard in the vault of Raiders of the Lost Ark, basically, with like all these secret FBI things and stuff. That sounded really cool. I actually want that movie. Like, Ghost of Tsushima seems alright, but like, I would still like that New Line movie to happen. I'd like him to do that. This sounds cool. I hope the best. I think an Asian director would probably be, or a Japanese director would be a better choice for something like this. But again, I barely know the video game, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think he'll make a good movie. I think he'll actually be respectful. I've heard him talk about Kurosawa before. I think he probably knows his shit, and especially in terms of making an action sequence. I'm sure he'll make a good action movie. I just prefer, like, maybe not a white dude, but whatever. I don't know actually much about Chad Straczynski, so I'm not really going to be talking about Invincible. I'm sorry. I haven't gotten to watch it. That's why I didn't do a thing. And I wasn't sure if I'd have a slot for it. Maybe I would have, but I just didn't. It seems like a cool show. Maybe I'll try to watch it. I apologize. All right. So this is going to be a bigger section because there's a lot of movie theater stuff. If you're watching this later, Nat and Vox 64, remember when AMC used to be called American Movie Classics? I do, and it was basically like Turner Classic Movies Light, and they would have like a Robert Osborne-esque, not as good as Robert Osborne type person. Yeah. But yeah, I do remember that. I think that's how I saw Butch Cassidy for the first time. Anyway, cheers to you, Nat and Vox 64. Again, I don't know most about Ghost of Tsushima, so a lot of people are saying, I see what St. Powers is saying. Maybe that's true. I'm sure it'll be cool. I have seen Kid Cosmic. I talked about Kid Cosmic when that came out. But I know everyone's really into Invincible. I probably should have watched it and done a thing, and I didn't think I'd have time. And anyway, my fault on that one. It seems cool, though. I don't know. I know Comic Tropes liked it. Also, I hope Comic Tropes feels better because has COVID and isn't doing very well. So apologies to him. Anyway, I want to get into everything that's going on with theaters. There's a lot between HBO Max and Regal, and then the Disney Plus stuff. When you're watching this later, this will all be one big segment. But so remember when? Nice. Jim Ghost is a video game. All right. I'm not doubting your gaming knowledge. I'm doubting my gaming knowledge. That's what I was saying. I'm just saying I don't know anything. Okay. So, Regal Cinemas, who has been closed this whole time, even in New York and in places where it can be open, has been mostly closed, made a deal with Warner Brothers this past week where they will have, starting in 2021, an exclusive 45-day window, basically ending the Hbo Max thing that we have had throughout 2021, where we get day and date. That will no longer go on, and they will have a 45-day window. I'm not sure which is the first movie that's going to get that. I'm assuming Batman, which I think comes out in March, who the fuck knows at this point, will be coming out in March 2022, but that will be part of it. They didn't say after the 45-day window whether it would go to VOD. They also didn't say if it's going to HBO Max. I'm kind of assuming it is. No, there was not actually a confirmation on that. They just said Regal and them signed a 45-day agreement window, which sounds like Regal was not happy about what happened with the day and date thing and actually held out longer than AMC, which props to Regal for actually fighting the studios on something. It feels like none of these brands has even tried. Maybe they couldn't, but Regal held their guns because WB wanted them to open for Kong vs. Godzilla. It sounds like they want to have a big opening weekend, despite the fact that it's opening on Wednesday. I don't entirely. It seems like I keep reading like they want a big opening weekend. I'm like, why is this fucking opening midweek then? If you want a big weekend, guys, it doesn't make no sense. But basically, yeah, they really want, specifically actually on that weekend, Regal to open on April 2nd, and they also wanted open for Mortal Kombat on April 16th. April's going to be crazy in terms of stuff, by the way. They did say, and Nattenbox is bringing up in the chat, that they did say that this was only a 2021 release window thing. They also confirmed that both Matrix 4, which who the fuck knows when that's coming out, and the Dune movie are going to do day and date in 2021. I think this was actually an interesting thing, but the other part of the thing with Regal that was interesting is Cineworld, who owns Regal and theaters in England as well, said this, and I think this is probably the most telling thing of the story that no one's talking about, which is why I wanted to mention it. Said, although the group is now looking at reopening and recovery from the impact of the pandemic, material uncertainty around its ability to continue as a growing concern remains. So basically what they're saying is they get that the whole idea of theaters is falling the fuck apart. I think they have expressed that many times, and Regal is basically like, we're trying to fight to keep this around. Now with this 45-day window, what does this actually open up more of? Because no other studio has made this this kind of deal. Specifically, I know Paramount and Universal sort of have. But I think what could happen and what studio could come to play in this, and which people haven't mentioned, is Netflix. Netflix was fighting with them over The Irishman. They got to 45 days, and the studio and the theater chains wouldn't budge. So I think what could happen is you could see Netflix suddenly deciding, like, hey, these 20 movies are theater movies, and we're going to push them to theaters for 45 days, and then they come to Netflix, which they could totally do. It'd be another revenue stream, even though they have billions of dollars, but there's a lot of financial uncertainty around Netflix, which people don't like to talk about, but it's definitely something that's been expressed many times, which you could see them. You could totally see Netflix getting in there right then, because they suddenly have a window that's a month and a half. And I know a lot of people have said, and I think Kevin from the Roundtable and I were talking about on Twitter, going back and forth on that, about how he was saying, well, for superhero movies, people will come out and they won't wait 45 days. I'm like, and I was like, because of the memes and they want to, be part of the conversation. I was like, look, myself and people on Twitter and like Kevin from the Roundtable and anyone else wants to do that. They want to be part of that conversation. A normal person doesn't really care that much. And like, so these like second, third weekends are going to be so much less. And I get that a lot of people are like, oh, well, what about Batman? What about this big blockbuster or whatever? And people are so attached to these things. But I understand you want to see those 4 movies you see in theaters every year for some people. But a lot of people, like, financially, people have been hit really hard. And, they're having trouble keeping food on the table. They've been collecting unemployment for like a year. They're really confused and scared. And you're telling me they're going to go to the theater because they want to be a part of the memes? I just don't buy that right now. So the fact that, like, if HBO Max and if these other streaming services do this 45-day thing, the casual consumer movie audience is going to dry up real quick. And maybe they'll go to those 4 movies a year, but that is not going to keep a theater going year round. Batman and whatever Marvel movie comes out in 2022, and like, those 5 or 6 movies normal people see in the theaters, if they just do all 5, that's still not going to keep theaters around. You need all those other movies, and it is tremendously going to hurt them. This is not a joke or an exaggeration, and I'm not trying to be, ring the doom bell or whatever that is. It's a really big concern. Additionally, and this will go into the Disney thing, children can't be vaccinated yet. And there's a real fear that they might not be vaccinated until 2022. Additionally, other countries that are not America might not be vaccinated until as late as 2024. So this whole idea that this is suddenly going to be sort of done this year is just not. And we're really going to have to get used to this change, because things in the theater industry and movie releases are majorly going to have to change to be financially viable. Zane Power says, what about when DVDs come out after a movie? Well, I'm not sure how they're going to do the DVD thing is going to be interesting. I could still see, do people even care about that? I'm curious when the DVDs would come out at this point. I think they'll come out later. Yeah, that's a good point. When would they come out? Anyway, cheers to you, Zane Powers. So we done the HBO Max part. Now it's the Disney part. The thing is about Disney is they released the fate of sort of 3 movies. One being Luca, which is just going straight to Disney Plus with no premiere access. It is going to, I believe it is June 18th. Although it will go in theaters in regions that don't have Disney Plus. I'm not sure which of those are. But then Black Widow will come out on July 9th with premiere access, which was supposed to open in the summer on May, which is now not. It's coming out on July 9th. And Cruella is staying on May 28th with premiere access. They did not say what's going on with the rest of their slate. Things were delayed, like Shang-Chi and so forth. They have not really said if they're having premiere access. I think they're hoping for the best. But, I think, Encanto, is that still on here? Is it? Encanto, I don't think is going to stay on Thanksgiving, because children won't be able to go to theaters because they won't be vaccinated. Now, why pick Luca, and why did Cruella and Black Widow have different fates? I'm assuming because how Disney's theatrical idea and the various studios they have theatrically work is basically you have these various heads of the theater. So Pete Docter runs Pixar, Jennifer Lee has Disney Animation, Kevin Feige has Marvel, Kathleen Kennedy has Star Wars. She doesn't have a movie in production that's coming out, so she doesn't really play into it. But you get my point. And I'm assuming Pete Docter is just send it to Disney Plus. He might be the smarter head in all of this, because despite that we just talked about someone's reaction to Raya and how it basically took down one of the biggest movie YouTubers, there hasn't been as much discussion for Raya as I saw with Soul because of the premiere access thing. Because regardless of, I know a lot of people torrent or do pay for premiere access, not as many people talk about it as Soul. That conversation got real big and was a huge hit. And maybe he's thinking more about the cultural conversation, the Oscar things, as well as Netflix and animation is becoming a real threat to Disney. And especially like in April. And I'm sure they're looking at that like, look, we can't lose the animation market to Netflix. Let's just have these Pixar things go. We can't fill a theater with kids anymore. That's not going to happen until 2022. Who knows how they're going to figure that rollout? That's a whole can of worms right there. So Luca makes a lot more sense. Now, I think a lot of kids see Marvel movies. So I don't know what's going to happen there. They might have said, like, well, we think there'll be enough adults to go to the theaters, but we still want to make something. Maybe it has something to do with the back end deal. We don't understand how these deals went down. I'm actually really curious. I hope there's a book, like, this is about how movies dealt with things during the pandemic, because I'm really curious. But it will be interesting to see. Cruella is, those Disney live action remakes are mainly box office plays. They do not do well on streaming later on. Like, do you ever see anyone talk about Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson still? Like, it just doesn't happen. So, I think this is an interesting strategy, but I do wonder what their whole idea really is. But I think the Luca thing was more for for Pixar's survival. It's probably better than what's going to happen with Black Widow and Cruella. I think Black Widow might be the biggest Disney Premiere Plus push, really. I think Cruella could too, a little, but not as much. I really think Black Widow is going to be huge for them, and we'll see. Maybe it'll work out for their Premiere Plus. I know they're kind of doing this last minute, which I mentioned a couple weeks ago. But I think the Luca thing is the most interesting, but I don't think it's because I've seen people say they don't care about Pixar or something like that. I actually think it probably might end up being better for Pixar because more people will have memories of watching those during the pandemic than probably any of the Premiere Plus stuff. So, and it probably will help out Oscar stuff because having more availability seems to help them out. Maybe they're worried about that, especially with Encanto is probably going to get pushed off this year. So Luca might be their only big animation push for the Oscars next year. They're probably, Disney does think about that stuff and they do want to keep that streak alive. So that might play more into it because I'm sorry, Black Widow and Cruella are not playing for that. And maybe they're just like, look, Pixar gets the nominations. Now, I don't understand why Raya wasn't free. That makes no sense, which is why I kind of think it's whoever's running these studios' decision almost. Like they play into it, and Pete Docter's like, sure, and Jennifer. But I have no info on that. I'm sort of just guessing. But I think that's not a out of left field thing. So, but the rest of the films on their slate, like Jungle Cruise, which comes out July 30th, Free Guy, which moved back to August 13th, which is kind of a conflict actually, because another Ryan Reynolds film, The Hitman's Bodyguard 2, comes out August 20th, and everyone's saying it will move now. Shang-Chi comes out September 3rd, which previously had July 9th. The Eternals didn't move. You have all this stuff that, like, Flash Searchlight stuff, the Beatles Get Back, which I think would be a natural place to put on Disney Plus, but then they have to work out a deal with Peter Jackson. It sounds like Disney, honestly, here's the thing. HBO Max and AT&T, that sounds like a fucking mess. That whole company. But they at the very least, gave us a signal thing where, like, what's going on with Dune and Matrix, and they're like, suddenly like, oh yeah, that's done. Don't worry. We're not going to renege on that. But, like, Disney keeps pushing this, like, last minute thing, and it's annoying. Just decide what you're going to do now. I'm so sick of this. It's like every 2 weeks with Disney. They like, I don't know, what are we going to do? So the next big one for Disney, by the way, is Jungle Cruise Free Guy, which is like not really a Disney Plus thing. I guess that would be Hulu or Star. And then the Beatles and Shang-Chi, they've got to figure those things out as well as The Last Duel, all this stuff. It's just a fucking mess. And they need to pick out what they're going to do. I'm not sure at the Premier Access. I don't think it's a really great idea, particularly because people are hurting, but I just think, I don't know. Mr. Coate mentioned actually that Black Widow is coming out right after Loki's 5th episode instead of, it would be originally coming out after Falcon and the Winter Soldier ended like a week after. What does that mean? Who knows if there's a reason for that, or like why the timing, or why Disney and Marvel seems to keep the same spots. But maybe there's something to do with that. But I don't think they abandoned Luca. I think it's actually going to work in Luca's favor in the long run. You know, and I do think the Netflix thing plays into it. I think the Oscar thing plays into it. But I also think there's a lot we don't know. We don't know why these decisions are made. They are not being that firm with us. I'd love to hear an interview with Pete Docter, Jennifer Lee, or Alan Horn where they explain, or Bob Chapek, what's going on. And they seem to not do that. Yes, there's a Jungle Cruise movie. Yeah, everyone's like, Jungle Cruise? It's with The Rock and Emily Blunt. It's a big movie. Oh, and West Side Story and The Kingsman moved to December 22nd. That's the other one. All right, 2 things, and then there's going to be a whole flood of DC news because I put it all together. Did I not talk about Suicide Squad? Why did I not do that? Why is it not... Did that get deleted from my script? Oh, man, it totally did. Okay, well, when we get to the DC news, that will be one of the things. I don't know. What the fuck, Jim? All right, so speaking of HBO Max and all that, Tenet is coming to HBO Max on May 1st, which everyone's laughing about because he called it the worst streaming service. Unfortunately, he couldn't be on Quibi, which was his real artistic thing or whatever. I cannot wait to watch Tenet on the subway on my phone. I'm super excited. Yeah. I don't know. It's funny, but it's like expected. It's like both like, I mean, that does make sense, but it is funny because he hates it so much. Then Peter Rabbit has moved to July 2nd. Or Peter Rabbit 2. I haven't seen the first one, whatever. All right. So DC news. Well, I'll say this first thing first, then I'll get into the other stuff. And the reason I bumped this all together, because it actually does tell a narrative, and I'm not getting all Clownfish TV or Midnight's Edge on you or whatever. I'm not doing that. But I will say, part of the theory about this is correct, but I don't think they're trying to do the thing. There's not like a conspiracy, but they definitely plan to have this big glut of DC news. That is absolutely a plan. Thank you, Austin. That is absolutely a plan. That's not a crazy... Tenet would have been better on YouTube Red. Zane Powers, you are right. You're 100% right. It should be on Quibi Originals on Roku. That's where it should be. YouTube Red. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. So, the person who's running DC, basically did interviews on Monday. Like, real specific... saying basically they're not restoring the Snyderverse because they aren't. Think about restoring the Snyderverse. You know who you'd need? Ben Affleck, who is not doing it anymore. He's stopped. To get him back to the Flash, they had to pull a lot of strings. They are not bringing that guy back. He is not coming back. No one, I've seen a couple videos about it. I was like, how come they're not mentioning like Ben Affleck? Because they know that would be stupid because he's not coming back. A lot of those like Henry Cavill doesn't have a lot going on. I mean, he does, but like, theatrical wise, like if they offered him enough, I guess. But he's even been weird about his contract. It's just like, guys, like let it go. I just find it ridiculous. And I do get like they hinted at other sequels and people aren't used to like back in the 80s you get Masters of the Universe, they're like, oh, there'll be another one, and then it never happens. And now people are like not used to it at all, I noticed. But the head basically said there is no restored the Snyder cut. There is no David Ayer cut coming out. Most of that, a lot of people are saying because of synergy with The Suicide Squad. Also because who cares? Mostly because who cares? Why would you want another cut of that bad Suicide Squad movie? It's not going to get better. David Ayer is not that good of a director. Give it up. Hello, Speed Racer 76. I'm glad you're here. But it's just like what is happening with this Restore the Snyder Cut thing is you have a lot of people who have a financial incentive who did all these like, you know, Zack Snyder cut videos for like years and years, and they don't know what to do, so they're gonna like bang this drum now. But like I could tell DC was like, look, we gave you a weekend, but this is over and you need to move on. So in ways that we should move on, the first big thing was the Suicide Squad trailer, which was actually really good. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, so we should release the James Gunn cut, which is just that movie. It looked like a lot of fun. I haven't seen a good James Gunn movie or a James Gunn movie since Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm not actually a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I really love the first one. I think that is a great movie. It's one of the best MCU movies, but he's really good at working with a weird band of misfits with a bunch of different actors, having a lot of geeky stuff in it. Ryan, who sadly is not here tonight, but I think he's sleeping probably. But I will say he knows Lloyd Kaufman in the trailer. I like the King Shark. Not as good as the King Shark, by the way, in the Harley Quinn cartoon show. I would have preferred that one, but it's Stallone, so it's fine, I guess. Idris Elba, I like the John Cena thing, which was funny. I liked that it was an R-rated trailer, and it was a fun R-rated thing. Remember, all the DC stuff is like moody and like all this crap, like with the all this crap with like the dark broodingness in, and it's R-rated. Like that stinks. Like I want to see fun R-rated. That's what James Gunn's gonna give me, like fun. Like I would eat, a beach full of dicks for America thing. That's funny. Margot Robbie looks like she's having fun. It looks like a fun, dorky, strange cast, like a good, weird DC, not a dumb, weird DC. I really like that trailer. It was like a burst of energy I needed. It made me excited. I'm like excited for a summer movie. I'm excited for April, and then I'm like the rest of the summer movies. First off, I barely understand what's coming out this summer at this point anyway, but this gave me, again, HBO, good job on that, because wow. But I'm excited for this movie. It looks like a lot of fun. Good job for James Gunn. But I think they did a good job of establishing, like, hey, this is the new kind of DC, which is what they did all week. That is 100% what they did. It is not like a conspiracy. It is more them, I mean, I guess, it's more them planning to be like, yo, look, you got your Snyder Cut. This era is now over. The book is closed. We just filmed a Batman with Robert Pattinson. You need to, like, we're going to kick you out of the fan base for a little bit. Have you seen people... Oh, Zane Powers. Thank you for bringing this up, actually. Have you seen that people are bombing Kong vs. Godzilla, saying restore the Snyderverse because of Snyder Cut? Now they will be entitled to everything. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. We killed a Red Bull. Doctor Who. Oh, Doctor Who was in it. Sorry. It's true. I like the cast. The dorky cast in that was also really cool. Thank you for bringing that up, Austin. But Zane Powers. Okay. Hold on. Let me do Zane Powers first, Will. Hold on. Thank you for another super chat, Will. I did see they're bombing Kong vs. Godzilla. Or is it Godzilla vs. Kong? Is the new one just Godzilla? Or are they both? I forget. I saw them bombing it. I thought that was just really immature. And there's a lot of people saying they should not have used that fan base that Disney basically definitely rejected, and AT&T kind of picked it up for their streaming service and stuff like that. There has been a lot of people commenting on how much of a bad idea that all really was. I think it was a tremendously stupid idea because it basically empowered these people, and I don't think they'll get anywhere because the hype for it is big enough that no one's going to buy that, especially because, like, I don't know, it's pathetic. They need to move on. It's it's like unrelated. I don't get it. Will says, hold on, opening up the second Rebel air cut, coming from the stooge who compiled with all the corporate monopoly, calling critics of the 2016 over the top vitriol. Go back to Bright 2, David. I like Will's super chats. It's like a little reviews into themselves. I like this. Cheers to you, Will. That was nice. But anyway, I do think these people don't know what. I don't think they really understand what they're doing. I think they're just being. I don't know. Anyway, so the other things they announced is Helen Mirren will be the villain in Shazam 2. That's cool for her. Pierce Brosnan is getting a big role as Dr. Fate as the villain in Black Adam. Pierce Brosnan needs a good role. He's a great actor. He's a great character actor. Actually, I'm glad he's getting kind of a... Everyone, I noticed every podcast, every article is like, can we have a Brosnan assance and stuff? That's a good sign. I hope we get one. I like Pierce Brosnan a lot. He was the Bond I grew up with, so I guess I'm like him the most. Are you supposed to do that? Sean Connery's the best, whatever. But Pierce Brosnan did a good job, and I feel like he deserves like a second win. Ron Livingston will replace Billy Crudup as the Flash's dad. I'm curious how that happened, but whatever. And we got a writer for Static Shock. So that's good. Sounds like Static Shock is moving along. Michael B. Jordan is still producing. And two of the bigger ones is Michael Keaton admits he hasn't looked at the script for The Flash and was a little wishy-washy on if he was actually going to do it, which is funny because everyone's like, he's going to be the Batman in all these movies. And his response was like, I got a lot of projects. I actually haven't read the scripts. I don't know, maybe. Which was really funny, I gotta say. Godzilla vs. Kong is not even WB's film per se. That is true. That is true. Legendary would agree. Cheers to you, Netbox64. And finally, this is the last one of the DC news. Emerald Fennell, who wrote and directed Promising Young Woman, has announced she's going to do a Zatanna movie. Zatanna, I didn't really grow up with her, understanding her, but I know her more from DC's Superhero Girls. She seems like a fun character. I actually think Emerald Fennell could do a lot with her. Bad Robot is producing this, which shows that they're taking the reins over a lot of the DC stuff. I think Emerald Fennell could do good work with it. A lot of people have been disappointed because she's taking on a superhero thing and not making another original film. I'm assuming she really likes Zatanna, or they offered it to, you can have a DC thing, here are the properties, and she was like, maybe this one. I don't know how she feels about Zatanna. I'm a little curious about that. I'm assuming she's mainly doing it as like, here, I'll do this big superhero thing, and then I'll do a small indie thing. I know Ryan Coogler thought he could do that, and now he didn't do that cheating scandal movie with Michael B. and just made Black Panther 2. I'm not sure what happened there, but maybe she feels like, I'm going to take this paycheck, do a bunch of big movies, because a lot of people said, like, well, look at what happened with Catherine Bigelow or other female directors who've had, nominations and what they've done. And I think the difference between a lot of these people is Emerald Fennell is beginning her career. Catherine Bigelow, by the time she won Hurt Locker, had already had Point Break, had already had a bunch of big movies, has had a reputation, people know her. Emerald Fennell's done like a season of Killing Eve. She's done one movie, and I think she's probably like, let me have a big hit under my belt with a superhero thing, and then if I want to do whatever next or an original thing, I can, and I have that to fall back on. I think it makes a lot of sense. You just have to put in your perspective her actual, filmography and her career. And I feel like a lot of those women, like Patty Jenkins, like so forth and so on, and Catherine Bigelow, they were far more established and had been for decades. And Emerald Fennell, it hasn't been as long. So I think that's honestly why she's doing it. I also think most directors just want to have that superhero thing to fall back on, like Christopher Nolan did. It's kind of a natural thing. But, I agree it would have been cooler for her to do an original thing, but maybe she has a cool spin on it. I feel like her doing a Zatanna movie sounds cool to me. That sounds cool. So let's just keep it at that one. Let's see. Okay, so that's all the DC stuff. Sorry I compiled that all. Sorry I forgot about Suicide Squad. I'm glad Suicide Squad wasn't the thumbnail. I was apprehensive about doing the Lindsay Ellis thing in the thumbnail, so I almost did the shark, and I'm glad I didn't now, because everyone have been like, when is he talking about Suicide Squad? I came here for this. But thank you all for being here tonight. It seems like I have a lot of people here, and thank you all. It's very nice of you for being here. Okay. There's going to be a Mike Tyson limited series. It's going to be directed by Antoine Fuqua, and Martin Scorsese is executive producing. There was previously, and I don't think this is this series, but it is a different one, that John Boyega was going to play Mike Tyson, and I don't know what happened. This is like before Star Wars, and I don't know what happened to that. I think it was like, I don't know who it was now. I forget. But, yeah, I know they've been trying to do a Mike Tyson show for a while, actually, and it's interesting they finally got it together with Jamie Foxx. It might also be because John Boyega was just like off Attack the Block, and that wasn't maybe as big, but it seems like now, like the Lakers show is casting up with like a bunch of people. It seems like you have to have big people in these things, like a American Crime Story. So that sounds interesting. Pete Browngegdt, I guess, inked a really big deal. I think he is probably one of the great animation directors of our era, particularly with like what he did this year with Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry is kind of insane to me. I really got to say he's been doing some excellent work. Before we get into that, Gym party is over. Okay, cornbread. I will actually post that in the Discord after the show. I'm sorry about that. Medela Butterfly asks, is the New Gods movie still happening? Isn't that with Ava DuVernay? To my understanding, it is. I'm not sure. Things have just gotten so mixed up with release dates. It might still be happening. Everything I've heard is that it is. I haven't heard any movement in a while, but to my understanding, it is. But thank you for the super chat, Medela Butterfly. Thank you for being here as well. But Pete Baumgarten, I think he's done a great job with those 2 Tom and Jerry special shorts with the Looney Tunes, but he inked an exclusive multi-year cross-studio deal under this agreement. He's going to be developing original animated programming with access to the extensive character and franchise libraries at each studio, this being with Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Animation. Bottom line, almost every animator I follow on Twitter was basically like, this guy deserves it. No one in the animation community doubts this guy. Everyone was like, he deserves this deal. He's really great, because those Looney Tunes cartoons are really, like, consistently good, that I don't think people really, it's something you kind of disregard because of the consistency and quality. But he has put out, like, really, if you're thinking about who's made the most, like, great cartoons this year, it really is him. I think he's done a bang up job, and he deserves this deal. So good for him. And it's kind of like not something you can talk too much about, but it is like, I know, like, it's too many things we talk about is like, theaters are over, Lindsay Ellis is over, the Gorillaz suck now. It's like, this not a fun show. But I will say, this is very good news. This is very good news for the future of Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Animation and Warner Media. It's awesome news. So let's all celebrate in that. Let's get what's a good thing in the chat? Can we get a good thing? Can we get some those memes or whatever? Just put some. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Hawkeye. Sorry, the character of Echo from Hawkeye. This makes me settle. The character of Hawkeye from Echo, the character of Echo from the new Hawkeye show, which has not, I think, is shooting, is already in the works. There's going to be a spinoff of her on Disney Plus. I'm assuming she's really good in it. She sounds like a cool character. She can kind of echo other characters' movements and stuff like that. I hope that it sounds cool. Not much on that. So, W. I should have said W. Oh, the Sandofogo wins. ICP and Kevin James. There you go, Blacksy. So, I know I've talked about the Steven Spielberg's movie based on his real life. I talked about what happened with his family. I think that was like 2 shows ago. Look up his parents, because whoa. That's all I'm going to say there if you missed that show. But the only bit of casting news we got is that Seth Rogen will be playing Spielberg's favorite uncle. I don't know much about his uncle. I've not read much about his uncle. But good news for Seth Rogen. Male Tears there. Great show, Jim. You give the most base takes. Oh, heart. Thank you, Male Tears. Thank you. Cheers to you. But Seth Rogen is playing Spielberg's favorite uncle. That's cool. After watching E.T., I have to say, and that's very much supposedly based on his mom and stuff, the mom character in that. First off, get the mom from E.T. I forget her name, actually, but by the way, she is really good in that movie. The acting in that movie is really good. I don't think that movie gets as much love for the performances in that, because those kids are like so natural and so great in that. And I think that film should have gotten more acting nominations, but I think a lot of the people who have played versions of his family should not like take over the film if they can do it, but I also like get Drew Barrymore. Like, how cool would that be to see Drew Barrymore in a Spielberg movie again, and she returns for that one? Like, so much of like her as Gertie is like in the pop culture landscape. I think that would be good casting. I think he should get somebody from E.T. to like be a cousin in the corner or something like that. Like, that would be a nice reference, I think, because so much of his life is infused in particularly E.T. and Close Encounters and all that. But I just thought I'd say that. But I think Drew Barrymore, like, wouldn't it be cool? I think we'd all like that. All right. I need to hurry up because I spent too much time on other things. There's a new Transformers movie. We're not exactly sure what the deal is with the Transformers movie stuff. It's so unconfirmed where it is. I don't think it's Transformers 7 it's in a separate thing. We don't know much, but it's from Marco Ramirez, who is the showrunner for The Defenders. And it's being written by the guy who wrote Charm City Kings. We'll see what happens with that. HBO Max now has icons. I haven't gone through that to pick out an icon. I need to. Let me do a couple trailers. I guess this is trailers and things. The Nevers trailer came out. This is from Joss Whedon. It makes no mention of Joss Whedon because duh. It doesn't honestly look like that great of a show, but it's basically about like people with superpowers in the suffragette era. Is that what they're doing? I think it's like Joss Whedon's feminist take on the suffragists. Ugh. And then there's the trailer for Stowaway, which looks actually cool. It's basically a guy who was part of the launch crew. He passed out in the spaceship that's going to Mars. He's kind of a stowaway. They don't have enough oxygen to take on an extra person. What do they do? Blah, blah, blah. It looks like it could be a cool movie. I'm also like, why didn't they just abort and put him back? And then that part doesn't make sense to me. But it looks like kind of a cool space movie of Toni Collette, Anna Kendrick, people like that. So that looks kind of interesting. Has the monthly movie review winner been announced? For last month, yes. So watch that video, Jordan Bouchard. It's up there. It's in the pot. Just scroll through the post on Patreon, but it is there. Cheers to you, Jordan Bouchard. I'm sorry if you missed it. I'll try to send it to you later if you'd like. Cheers to you. So this is random Oscar-y things. The Oscars have announced they are not going to have a host again. I think that's probably for the best. They hadn't made an announcement until recently. They've also said that they will not allow people to use Zoom. A lot of older Academy members have pushed back on that. A lot of people don't think that's okay because they want people to be there. The bigger problem with this is a lot of these people are working all the time. And for them to leave these productions and be, at the Oscars, they're going to have to quarantine for 10 days, meaning they're going to not have to be able to work for 2 weeks, then do the Oscars, then go back to where they're shooting, and then quarantine for another 2 weeks. There's a lot of people saying this is financially not able to happen. I think the Oscars need to grow up with this. Everyone thinks they're going to push it back. I think they will as well. Nomadland won the PGA, which is a big indicator of who wins Best Picture. It seems pretty obvious that is going to win Best Picture at this point. I actually saw it this week. I hopefully have a review out soon. I thought it was very good. And Soul won Best Animated Feature at the PGA, and Soul seems like the obvious favorite for animation, despite the fact that Wolfwalkers is a million times better. I mean, it's just truth. Okay, we don't have too many things. I'll get through these things, then Obits, and then the break. R.I.P. Muppet host. Zane Powers, you were right. It should be Muppet host. Paramount Plus has added a ton of classic Nickelodeon shows, which I think Paramount Plus is doing what most streaming services do and announce a lot of these legacy nostalgia titles later, so it makes you wish you had the service, those being you can't do that on television. Hey Dude, Legends of the Hidden Temple, I've heard about Double Dare, and Salute Your Shorts, as well as Did I Say Eureka's Castle, because also that. Apparently, my Google Doc decided to spell check and called it Eyelash Castle, which sounds like a really bad indie band. But they're trying to do more of these classic Disney stuff, so there. Where were we? Okay, spill the tea. I don't want to spill some. I got to clean that up then. Also, for some Sesame Street news, they're going to actually have 2 new Muppets. They're called Muppets, even though they can't call them Muppets on the show. It's Ryan explained this to me, the whole thing. But they're going to have 2 African-American Muppets, being Elijah Walker and his son, Wesley. They're usually, when they have characters on Sesame Street, they're just monsters. They don't necessarily have a race, except I guess Rosita is Hispanic, but they don't really do much beyond that. However, this is kind of more of the newer vein of Sesame Street characters, that each new character is about a different issue, where they have like Julia, who talks about autism and so forth. That seems to be what this new, the new kind of management of Sesame Workshop tends to do. This way they can talk about various issues with racism. Not that the show's actually been very good about handling those, but I think it's interesting they're actually going to introduce characters to handle that more directly. That sounds actually really interesting. I hope they do that. I hope they do a good job with it. They do have other Black Muppets. They have the little girl, I forget her name, and she had like puffs in her hair, and her and none of you know what I'm talking about, but, but they do have actually Black Muppets before this, but they don't do it they don't have a lot of Muppets who are not just monsters a lot. So anyway, I don't think I said that very well. Anyway, Zane Powers, let's move on. Uncomfortably. Zane Powers says Eyelash Castle versus Jerkface and the Stupids. I forgot about Jerkface and the Stupids. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. I needed that. Also, hold on. Also, there's going to be 50 years of Sesame Street special air on ABC on April 26th at 8 p.m., which is interesting because it's not a Warner show. Three last things, two things that'll be going quick. There's apparently an announcement of a Bewitched movie. This will apparently be more like the show and less like the Nora Ephron thing. A lot of people would bring up... Yes, Sunspot Mill knows what I'm talking about. That I love my hair thing. Okay, Sunspot Mills knows what's up with Sesame Street. You're right. Yes, that's who I was talking about. Anyway, so Bewitched. There's going to be a Bewitched movie. I'm assuming because I think I saw on Twitter somebody watched WandaVision. I think Bewitched could work in a modern sitcom. I think you could do a cool thing with that. But like a movie, I don't get. Some people say, "Oh, it's going to be darker." I don't know where these people are getting this because I read like the stories from the trades and everyone was like, they're just doing a Bewitched movie, whatever. And everyone's like, I think it might be darker. And I'm like, where are you getting this from? Do you have a source or you just like, someone's like, it might be, whatever. If there is an actual, like this person's directing and they said that, sure. But like, you can't just assume, whatever. There's going to be a National Treasure show. This does sound a little different because National Treasure is very kitschy and like, silly and over the top, and this seems to be about a Latina lead who's trying to find the mysteries of like her family and everything. It sounds a little more serious, and Mara Neer, I think, is directing. It could be cool, but it sounds like they're trying to take that franchise in a different way. It sounds almost not like National Treasure, but I haven't seen the show, so whatever. But based on that, it sounds like a little more serious. Maybe they'll have a little more fun with it. I hope they do. And then finally, this came out today. Well, there's also San Diego Comic-Con's trying to do a thing on Thanksgiving. What the fuck, guys? And also, like, so many people can't be vaccinated. Like, don't do a convention this year. Just skip conventions this year. Conventions next year. We're not doing conventions this year. Just Thanksgiving. Come on. Like, that... Fucking idiots. Like, why did you miss Thanksgiving? The first Thanksgiving you can see with your family. Oh, well, they're doing a Thanksgiving at fucking Comic-Con. Like... And you want talent to show up for that? Fuck you guys. That's such a bullshit. Like, what a jerky thing to do. Anyway, sorry. So the Sony Crunchyroll deal apparently is being delayed and is facing uncertainty because of the basically the government's not letting them, is worried about is not approving the merger, basically. Which I think I said this before, that the problem with this merger, Cartoon Brew, I always block your heads, is facing uncertainty because of the DOJ, because it's basically like, yeah, it's a monopoly. Like, it is a monopoly. Like, it definitely has a monopoly issue for American distribution of anime. So I'm glad they're actually pointing out that there is an actual problem with that merger. I'm 100% for them pointing that out. All right, so obituaries. Yeah, like that, come on. Like, fuck. I totally agree with that, by the way. So I think we lost a lot of big people this week. Larry McMurtry, who wrote Terms of Endearment and Lonesome Dove and all that. He was a great writer. And it's sad to have lost him, particularly hearing about him from the Polly Platt series recently. I've been thinking about him a lot. Nat and Box, I'll get to you in 1 second. George Siegel, who's recently on the Goldbergs, which I don't watch, but I know he got an Oscar nomination for Who Framed Virginia? No, What Happened to Virginia Woolf? Whatever. Which is a great a great movie. He has such a legendary career. He was in Look Who's Talking. He's just like one of those legendary great character actors, as well as Jessica Walter, who I think we all know very well as the grandmother on Arrested Development. She was amazing. Such a great comedic performance in that. As well as Beverly Cleary, the famous children's author as well. I think this was a pretty bad week for losing a lot of great people. So I'm sorry to their families, and I'm sorry to everyone who loved them and was inspired by them as well. Nattenbox64 says, remember when Bill O'Reilly tried to cancel Ludacris on Fox News back in the early 2000s? I do remember that. I think I watched one of his episodes of that just because I was like, is this real? You can't cancel Luda. Come on. It's funny. Ludacris is uncanceled and Bill O'Reilly is. So I guess we know how that worked out. Cheers to you. Although Oprah did that shit too. A lot of people tried to like cancel hip hop in the 2010s, and then they'd have Common on. Jesus. Anyway, cheers to you, Nattenbox64. I actually do like Common, but anyway. All right. We are already running late. I think this will go over a little bit. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I do not have any fan art tonight. But we're going to do Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2 when I get back. Then we will do Puff Daddy, the Come to Me song and music video from Puff Daddy, and then do questions. We have a couple Patreon questions tonight, and then it'll be the end of the show. So probably be a half hour to 45 minutes after I get back. That's the plan right now. Let me go to the bathroom, and I will be right back. And thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your generosity, the super chat. Thank you everyone who this is your first movie crap or like you haven't watched in a while. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope I didn't disappoint you or anything like that. But I'm just going to take it like a couple minutes. They always call me Lightning Whiz, as I'm always told. Ludacris has a Fast and Furious movie coming out, guys, so he's relevant. But I will be right back. But thank you all for being here. And it won't be too long. Don't worry. Hold on. Okay. Is it raining outside? I don't think so. Sorry if I made a weird noise. I'm hearing water. That was... okay. Let's see here. Oh, do. Okay. All right. So, I actually bought a bunch of new underwear. I'm feeling good because of that. That's like generally improved my life. If anyone's bought like 10 pairs, one of those Hanes packs. This is see, I was going to say at the beginning, I was like, this is going to be my opener, talking about this new underwear. But this is what you get after the break kind of content. This is what you get. But anyway, what is this? Don't be Rick and Morty. Oh yeah, April Fool's Days. What's that day? Oh man. Oh, I might have something at midnight. The one that becomes. Anyway, I think this week we'll have some interesting content. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Let's thank you all for being here again. Sorry, that was gross. Let's move on. All right. So, first segment of the night is Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2. I will write spoilers in the My cat Olive's doing something in the hallway. Should I write spoilers in the chat? Is she going to make another noise? To give you some context, Toulouse is going to go investigate, so I'm feeling confident. Buster looks not... Okay. I'm going to assume he took care of that. Alright. Alright, I will write spoilers in the chat if everyone doesn't want to... spoilers, or I will wave. And if you don't want spoilers, I don't think I'm really spoiling anything necessarily, but just in case. For Mayor of Funky Town, why not? All right, spoilers. So if you are watching this later, you can just skip to the next thing, or you can wait for the chat, and I'll wave. So if you want to mute, I'll wave, and I'll wave again when I talk about Puff Daddy's Come With Me. If you don't want that spoiled for you, I don't know what you. A little late. All right. So, Falcon. What? Bruce Parker, that's weird. Replacing all my underwear was amazing choice. Thank you, Bloxy. Cheers to you. All right. Falcon Winter Soldier episode 2. This episode was predominantly to feature more about them together and establish really what the show is. And the first episode was just establish them separately as characters, as well as establish the new Captain America played by Wyatt Russell. It kind of establishes like the main story of the show. It's interesting how this show is very economical, very much like this is the point of this episode. It's very much almost like basically like how The Mandalorian works, where it's a very simple, economical kind of action show. Very different structurally from WandaVision. I like that. It seems like a lot of people don't. I think because of the juxtaposition might not have worked out in Marvel's favor, to be honest with you. But this is more about, this is what this show is. This is an average sort of episode kind of thing, but it mainly moves in like, this is the mystery, this is the problem, the new Cap. You already know these guys, and this is their dynamic, and it's really we're still establishing things, but also moving it along. It's like doing it and then moving. It's doing it and then moving around. I did see like Cornbread's bring up their big 3 thing. I thought that was kind of funny. It's like wizards, robots, or aliens. That was very funny, in that everyone has these terms. It's very Marvel, kind of jokey and stuff like that. But I think the main thing with what's going on with here is the idea of legacy and the idea of identity, which is a continuing thing, which you also saw in WandaVision, but this seems to establish much more with Falcon as well as Winter Soldier or Bucky, because their identities, which were very much tied to Captain America or Steve. Steve is not dead, but just really old. Like, they act like he's dead, but he's not dead though, right? I mean, he didn't die. That's weird. Whatever. But they basically, I mean, he's not, I don't know. They're just like, we'll just leave him alone. He's like old. Seems to be their thing. But I think Falcon more so because he's not only dealing with, like, I don't know if he necessarily wants to be Captain America. And that's something I talked about last week with the first episode, is that, he's already Falcon. We saw in the first episode he did that cool thing with the flying. It seems like he really likes being Falcon. He'd have to stop doing that and be Captain America. And it's kind of like the idea of like, oh, well, you could be a famous person or something, but you're not you. Do you really want that? And I think that's sort of what he's going through, as well as seeing the legacy of when we get to the character of Olive. Come here. Do you want to? Come on. Come on. She's almost here. Right here. Come here. You want to come here? Do you want to be on the show with me? No. You okay? What's bothering you? People are watching us. Do you know that? Do you know? This will be cut out later. Don't worry. All right. All right. Sorry about all this. Leave all these shenanigans in the review. All right. Are you okay? You're getting a little fidgety. Do you want to be in the review? All right, you can be here. Sorry if this. Okay, so sorry. Let me get my notes. I am like way confused where I am at this point. I hope this holds together. No, this is the best part. All right, Olive and I. Olive was born in 2006. There you go. She is an old little cat, but she is a good cat. All right. So the whole idea of identity in Falcon Winter Soldier plays into what we saw when we see him in Baltimore, which I like that sequence a lot as I am from Baltimore, and that police sequence was very much something I had experienced anytime I was walking with a black friend. That was 100% what would happen. I was like, oh my God, this is, that's very real. I don't know if it was shot in Baltimore, actually. I'm not sure. It looked like an area in Baltimore. I believed it. But when they meet up with Isaiah Bradley, who's the super soldier that Winter Soldier fought in Korea, in the Korean War, which I'm assuming is in Korea, that part was interesting because it gets into the whole idea of why Falcon is kind of worried, and the idea of kind of racism and how Black America has been treated by the government, which I think plays into... which I think very much plays into why Falcon is apprehensive and he's not sure if he wants to be Steve and what that represents. And that's a lot to take on. Some people don't want to do that, actually, regardless of the metaphorical ramifications. Sometimes people turn that down, and the fact that he didn't know that, and that sort of changes perspective as well. I also like the whole idea of Wyatt Russell, who is doing a great job. I like Wyatt Russell generally, but first off, he looks weird without a beard. He definitely has this sort of MAGA vibe, which I notice they're putting as many like black people around him to minimize the MAGA thing as much, but it's like definitely there. I'm sorry. That is 100% going on this whole time. And he's interesting. I find it also interesting how he uses the system. Steve never used the system to trap someone like that, whereas Wyatt Russell's character will, which I think shows like how kind of evil he is, because most Captain America movies, I find, point out the problem with the system as well as praising sort of the good of it. It's kind of a theme. You see that in Winter Soldier, you see it in First Avengers, you see it in Civil War. It questions the system as well as saying like there's good in Americans and so forth. And this in a time where America, like, I don't think looks the best because of, right, Olive? Because of all the Trump stuff, it's kind of bringing into the fact that people who will use that system to their advantage to ultimately do something kind of shitty, like it fucks with their relationship. And that actually, I found that moment really kind of wonderful, where Falcon's basically like, I don't want to deal with you anymore after this. And you can tell Bucky's actually really hurt by it, which I think, are you done? You want to leave? Okay, okay. Hey, hey, hey. Okay, that was unnecessary. Yeah, okay, all right. You don't need to be getting mad at people, all right? Sorry. Anyway, she was a little upset, I think. But anyone who uses the American system, and we see, that through the cops and everything like that, I guess I'm leaving that olive thing as there's no way I can cut it out. It kind of shows the evil in the system and the evil that people can do with it, as well as like the whole thing with the flag smashers is also interesting. That action sequence is amazing. It was actually really good, on par with like theater level kind of stuff, like movie theater level or mainstream movie theater kind of thing. I thought that was really good. But also when you talk about like they want things to go back before the blip came back or whatever it is, they also mentioned like they're all getting like healthcare that was good healthcare. It was like, wait a minute, like I kind of agree with that though. Like everyone should get good healthcare. I don't really mind that part. I think they actually have a point. I don't, maybe them being super soldiers and attacking people, I'm not so into that. But like, why are we fighting them? It seems like they want to get healthcare to people who don't have it. I don't know if that. I don't really have a problem with that. So anyway, I like where the show is going. I like how it's set up. I think it is in some ways structured in a way much like how we talk about Pete Browngegdt with Looney Tunes, where if you kind of do this not showy kind of quality but consistent quality, it's something that people aren't as attached to. And I think that's really what this show's doing. I think that's like what Cap as a franchise is doing. But I'm curious where this is going because it's so economical and so straightforward that you kind of it's kind of just a nice, pleasant show to go through because it's just like, I think it 100% knows what it's doing. And that's interesting to see because I feel like with a lot of people when they take on these series, you can't feel the confidence that this show really has. So I'm going to see, I'm very positive on the show right now. I think it is really cool. I like where it's going. I like what it's saying. I know there has been some people on Twitter, like that guy, I know his Twitter name is Dwayne Maximoff. I apologize to him. That I don't remember it, who was saying that he doesn't like that so many superhero things end up being about racism, and he finds like it gets a little old after a certain point. And I definitely understand that perspective. I am reviewing this based on what it is, but I do think that is true. They could have maybe done this more about Falcon and his own feelings and not taken on that stuff, but I think because America has such a past with that, I think it's hard to not get into it. So anyway, let's see where it's going, and I like where it's going so far. All right, so even though it was late, I think all was cool now. Everyone seemed to like that, so I think it was worth doing, having Olive featured on the stream so much. She's an old girl, but she's a good girl. Let's do that, even though it's kind of late. Chef from Total Drama? I didn't know that. All right. Let's talk about Puffy or Puff Daddy's Come With Me from the Godzilla soundtrack. Now I'm talking about the music video. Cheers to me just for energy, sorry. He was known as Puff Daddy when this came out. But this is from the Godzilla soundtrack. Oh, I gotta write spoilers over. Hold on. Spoilers over. And I'll wave if anyone's muted. The ending, well, I wasn't gonna get, well, I think it'll be cool. That's what I think, Austin. I don't want to spoil it too much. Sorry. So Puffy, this music video was from the Godzilla soundtrack. The Godzilla soundtrack was kind of this big blockbustery, big soundtrack of the summer of 1998, which 1998, he became P. Diddy later. That was like 2001. Puff 1998 was a weird year because like Total Request Live would start that fall, and the boy band Britney Spears wouldn't hit till later that year, things like that. So like the real late 90s really starts in like 98, 99. Like boy bands really weren't taking over. It was like you could tell it was coming, but it hadn't happened yet. Same with like the rap rock and all that. This is like right before. And it's kind of interesting who they pick because you probably couldn't sell this soundtrack like the next summer as much as you did that summer, which is kind of weird. But I will say Bruce Parker's right. The Rage Against the Machine song is really great. The Jamiroquai song is really great. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Puff Daddy with "Come With Me," which this song makes no sense at all. I think it's about like you couldn't doubt him and haters or whatever. So first off, this is the 7-minute cut, so I want to establish that right now. I did the extended cut of "Come With Me." So we start off this video and Puffy is getting down with some slow music, and he's like doing it with some lady in his apartment, but then it's a dream and he's on his couch with a boner, I guess. And why have this in this video? It's essential to understand his character, that he's horny on main, but also to establish that this video makes no sense. Things that happen in this video, there's no rhyme or reason to them. They're just sort of cool for whatever reason, and it sort of acts like it has a plot. I don't know, but whatever. So then Puffy wakes up from having this wet dream and he hears what sounds first like Thomas Lennon on TV and then cuts to Harry Shearer as a newscaster who he isn't Kent Brockman. He's actually a newscaster in Godzilla. Clearly, Puffy is a huge comedy nerd fan and loves the state and Harry Shearer. But also, at a certain point, it's like, who cares about how he feels about excellent comedy actors when you hear that Godzilla is attacking New York City, and eventually very quickly is attacking Puffy's apartment for I don't know why. Just Godzilla, and he rips a hole in the side of where the window is, basically, and there's a giant hole in his apartment where, of course, he's gonna just start rapping. Nattenbach says Praz did a better movie song than Puff Daddy, than P. Diddy. That is true. And in that year, because wasn't Ghetto Superstar in 1988? That's a good song. Cheers to you. So Puffy is rapping at the edge of this building. There's a bus there. Maybe there's a bus that happened there. I don't know. And you see that Jimmy Page is playing electric guitar in Times Square for some reason. Why not? Why doesn't this say Puff Daddy featuring Led Zeppelin and it just says Jimmy Page? I'd like to know the legal reasons for that. I guess it's Zilla. I'm sorry, it's Zilla. Zilla. He's on the Jumbotron and all this stuff, and Puffy's rapping and all this stuff. But then suddenly a jet flies by his building and literally just explodes. Did Zilla attack the jet plane? No, it just explodes. Is there something magnetic field going around Puffy's apartment? Again, I don't know. But this explosion, which is huge, pushes Puffy into the elevator that's in his apartment, because of course he does. And he hits him in this elevator, and then this explosion doesn't kill Puffy because he himself is hot fire because it's 1998, and pushes him into here, and then the elevator starts going up because I think he's on the 10th floor, and then he's going up the elevator. He's rapping all crazy, and he has to take off his jacket because he's hot because there's just an explosion. He wants to take his jacket off, and he looks all cool, and he's rapping, and rapping all passionately. And I have to say, I have to stop describing this video for you to tell you that there was a time where anytime I was in an elevator, I was by myself, I would try to rap like this because I was a stupid teenager. And when I got into my dorm my freshman year, I was like, oh, there's an elevator in New York. I have to like rap like Puffy by myself. It was like a thing I only did and no one could watch. And I was doing that for like a couple of weeks. And then I looked up and I was like, at the security desk, which right in the lobby, I was like, wait, you have cameras in the elevator? And the security guy was like, yep. It's like, so you can see people in the elevator and whatever they're doing? He was like, yep. And I was like, oh. And I just looked at him. I was like, so you can see? And he just looked at me and went, yep. And I never did that again. Anyway, true story. I told a couple people that story later, and they just laughed at me and like, no, I didn't see you, but that guy clearly did. Um, so then, Buffy's elevator explodes out of the building and becomes Dove's, and he's suddenly in what? Thanks, Nathaniel Foga. And then he's suddenly in. He suddenly becomes Dove's. He's suddenly in white clothes, much like in basically Lord of the Rings, where he's like Gandalf the White. I'm assuming it's a Lord of the Rings reference for a movie that wouldn't come out for a few years, or a book. And then and then the Doves, which I'm assuming is a John Woo reference, and Puffy then from the Doves floats to Times Square, which I know you guys aren't New Yorkers, but he does, and everyone's like, oh, Puffy floating into Times Square. He does that all the time. It's like, it's really annoying because sometimes you're like, oh, we have to like spread out so Puffy like floats down, whatever. Then he floats down onto a stage that's with an orchestra next to the Jumbotron with Jimmy Page playing. They actually take out advertisements in Times Square like digitally, much like Spider-Man. Did this music video get sued? I don't think so. With like Sean John and stuff. Then he basically just dances around for a little bit and raps and all this stuff. And you see Zilla exploding stuff. I don't know what this song means. He's like, something about hoes, you're stepping on my toes. I think he actually says that. But then he's rapping, he's dancing, and then Zilla shows up, puts his head on the stage. Puffy opens his shirt, looks at Zilla, turns away, turns the camera and goes, "Come with me." Video over. Was this video good? No, this video is stupid. But to Jim in 1998, which I was probably too old to be as into this, I thought this was amazingly stupid, and I really got into this. I did know Kashmir before this, but this really kicked things off for me. I will say another Jim story is I worked in a restaurant where the guy played a lot of classic rock, and as a joke, I put this in the iTunes, and he would never, because it was always on shuffle, he would never know when, this is true, he would never know when Kashmir was coming on and Come With Me would come on, and he'd be getting into Kashmir, and then Puffy would start, and he'd be like, God damn it. And then like a couple of months later, he admitted to me, because it's on shuffle, sometimes he just went with it, and he admitted he liked Come With Me by Puff Daddy, which is my other Come With Me song. I will say Puffy was actually good at knowing that rap rock was going to start, because he had the All About the Benjamins rap remix, and this, it seems like he knew it was happening, but it's interesting when rap rock really took off, he like didn't do that. It's like sort of guitar with like We Ain't Going Nowhere, but anyway, this Discount Viscount says, was the Aaron Carter versus Shaq game rigged? Look, I've heard money was money changed hands. I don't know. Cheers to you, Discount Viscount. It definitely was. Is this song good? No, this is not a good song. The whole thing is sort of stupid, but I like that Puffy was experimenting with stuff. I sort of wish he'd done more of this rap rock when the Limp Bizkit stuff was going on, because I think I like the rap rock remix of All About the Benjamins, actually. It was a big hit. It won the Viewer's Choice Award at the MTV Awards that year, and Puffy this is probably his biggest pop star moment. He really took advantage of the pop star things, also because he ran the label, so what are they going to say no to him? I think Victory might be the better video, but I like the ridiculous 1998-ness of this, and that whole soundtrack, which has a Brain Stew Green Day song with the Godzilla noises that are all over that soundtrack. So anyway, it's getting late, but I will always remember Puff Daddy Come With Me, and I guess I came with him this time. Whatever. All right, I'm going to do the Patreon questions. This is running really late. Sorry. And then I will get to real questions, or not real questions. Sorry, chat questions. First question, Jordan Bouchard asks, if Jim wrote directed Godzilla vs. Kong, who would win? Please explain how and why they would win. I would have Godzilla win because he's Godzilla and he's got atomic breath. They would have a big fight, and then Godzilla would just burn King Kong's head off, and he'd just be a husk, and he'd fall to the ground. This would happen in New York City, right in front of the Empire State Building, and then Godzilla would pee on the ashes of King Kong. Will says, two Godzilla vs. King Kong questions. Probably a little mean. Will has hot takes tonight. Probably a little mean, but with the upcoming release of Godzilla vs. Kong, How the hell does Adam Wingard still have a career after getting 2 red cards with Blair Witch remake and the Netflix Death Note? Seriously, how the fuck did he get the keys to a cinematic universe of any caliber? But granted, considering the quality of the previous installments in 2019, wasn't quite expecting much, just seems strange. I think he signed on before those 2 had been released, but I agree with you. I think Adam Wingard, although You're Next and The Guest were great, well, The Guest was great and those You're Next was fine. I do think he's not as good as he once was. And I agree it's a bit ridiculous that he just got that. I don't really like the whole like, oh, this director's career saved because of a franchise thing. I don't think it sends the best message creatively in anything like that. I'm not sure how he got it. I hope he comes back. I know there's always been a lot of hype around him. I know the industry really likes him, but I don't really agree with that either because it's kind of suppresses voices so we can keep these directors' careers going for way longer than they probably should have. I hope he comes out of it, but I disagree with it on a kind of moral level. Well, so it's a good question. Nathaniel Foga has 2 Patreon questions. What would happen if Cletus and Creech met? I think they would be friends. They'd like drive around and like drink beers and stuff. I think it would just be a cool buddy movie. And then said, other than Congo, what's another film you feel had all the right elements in it only for the outcome to be a total disappointment? This isn't, I'm not being a meme or anything. If you look at everything that Cowboys and Aliens had going for it, had Steven Spielberg, Ron Howard, Jon Favreau, Brian Grazer, Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford, that had a crazy good amount of creative team and cast and everything like that. And Cowboys and Aliens should have been at least halfway decent, and it really wasn't. And I really expected it to be better than it was. And I remember a friend of mine were talking to someone, and they're like, why did you expect it? It look so dumb? And they're like, no, but if you look at like, all these people are never together. Like, this could have been something cool, and it really wasn't. And I'd say that's one of the ones I would say that about. Okay. Where's the first question? Is it Zane Powers? Okay. How can you not talk about King Shark? That's what the internet has been falling in love with. To make up for this, you should talk about him instead of the Wolfman this week. I did talk about King Shark. I like the Harley Quinn one more. I thought I said that. Anyway, you're right. King Shark needs more attention. Austin, ever seen Batman Beyond Return of the Joker? No, I haven't. I would like to review it at some point, though. I need to do that at some point. Cornbread, is the Star Wars Cantina Wolfman going to be the only celebrity we can trust that won't sell out to NFTs? Also, you crazy this week. 3 premieres? Wow. Yeah, I'm going to do the instant premiere thing for non-movie crap short things more often if I can. So if you want to show up, but I think that'll be more of a thing depending on if I can be there and all those things, but we'll see. Well, actually, Starman's Wolfman during the show actually announced NFTs, so that's Wolfman already sold out. Sorry. Question: Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries from ToonJ723 or Road Rovers? I don't know the second one, so I'm just going to say Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries. Sorry. Major Mekazawa, if you had to speculate, which director do you think the Monsterverse can go after Godzilla vs. Kong comes out? Do you think Godzilla vs. Kong will be the end point for the series? It shouldn't. Well, to be honest, I wish America would stop, and I wish they just let Toho do it. If I was going to, I mean, I think you'd just say Del Toro, but I sort of don't want to just say Del Toro. I think he could make a good one. I think, you could ask for like major director like Peter Jackson, all that stuff. But I think actually Emerald Fennell would do a good one. I would also say, yeah, I'd say Emerald Fennell. Let's go with that. Sorry, I can't think of any more. Best Ingmar Bergman film. I would say from Nat and Box 64. I mean, Seven Seals up there. I really like Fanny and Alexander. I've been wanting to rewatch that for a long time. Persona, I guess people would say, but Fanny and Alexander kind of stays with me. The West Singer, have you ever nominated anything for the National Film Registry? I haven't. I guess I know you can, but I haven't, so I probably should. Would Blink 183, what would Blink 183 be like for Bruce Parker? I assume like more heavy, maybe? I don't know. Nathaniel Foga, best music video made to promote a film. Maybe, I don't know. Let's just say Men in Black. Why not? Bloxy Oxenwinkle, could they continue the DCEU with Kevin James? 100%. 100%. Dana Delaney, message redacted. 100%. What Stan Powers, what are your thoughts on the theory the villain of the movie is secretly the hero, and what do you think is the worst instance of that? The worst instance of the hero of the movie is secretly the villain. The worst one, probably Green Book, because that guy was a fucking villain. All right, actually no. To do another meme thing, Blindside. I think the mom sort of comes out to be the villain. To be honest with you, even though she portrays the hero, there's a lot of villainous things she does to like get her alma mater a new football team. A new football player, really. Cornbread, do you think it would have been smarter for Viacom to hold on to Zim and Rocco movies for the launch of Paramount Plus, or do you think Netflix would still be the best place for them? That's a good question. I think, yeah, I would have been more excited for Paramount Plus. I think we all would have been, to be honest with you. I think when they made that deal, it made sense. But ultimately, had they held them, I don't see why they couldn't have held them. I think I would have signed up for Paramount Plus just for that. And then we wouldn't be focused on Camp Kroll as much because you'd want to watch those two. I think it would have been a good idea. Bloxy, Oxenwinkle. It's also before pandemic. They weren't thinking as much about animation, so that's probably why. Bloxy, Oxenwinkle, are you enjoying The Cruise starring Kevin James? I do need to review that. I'm sorry, Bloxy. Sleepy Time 4Cat Productions. Is Twitter really just the embodiment of don't meet your idols? No, but the way people behave on there, I would say, yeah. Dana Delaney, do you prefer Curly or Shemp? Probably Curly, I guess. What is Jim Jr.'s take on the Muppets? He loves them. He mainly likes Sam the Eagle and the old guys in the atrium. Embla T, I have controversial takes too. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is secretly an anti-vax movie, and Ryan Gosling in La La Land is the equivalent of a Star Wars gatekeeping fan for jazz. I don't know about the first one, but yeah, the second one. Not plausible. Opinion. Teen girls don't grow out of cartoons. They move over to anime because there's almost nothing in Western TV animation that caters to their demo. Closest CN has is probably Infinity Train. That's true, not plausible. It's a good opinion. Not in Box. Favorite Fuji song, not counting Killing Me Softly. Oh, the Foo La La La. That probably one. Sorry. It's late, so my singing voice is not great. Discount Viscount. Would Image Comics Cinematic Universe have any potential? I was actually thinking Netflix could... if Netflix had a Savage Dragon show or movie, I think that would do well. Same with Wildcats, same with John 13, same with all that stuff. I'm surprised the streaming service hasn't picked that up. There's a lot of nostalgia for that Image stuff. I think it could work. So that's a good question, Discount. A lot of good questions tonight. Zane Powers. How can Monopolies be bad? There is a board game named after it. That's fun. That's good. I like that same Powers. Because you want competition and more opportunities. Bruce Parker, do you have any opinions on the 90s Dennis the Menace movie? I remember like when I was a kid, but I've never felt like it held up, but I haven't watched it in like 20 years almost. Oh no, I lost my place. No, I didn't. Bloxy, remember when Wreck-It Ralph had a strong AKB48 headlining? Oh, sort of. I'm confused by that. Zane Powers, are Marvel films military propaganda? Yes and no, because this one kind of pointed a lot of holes in it, but still didn't want to get that negative. Not plausible. What are we getting more movie crap live in puppet form? I don't know. When is Bill O'Reilly going to make his big comeback? Zane Powers, didn't he on his website or something? Medela Butterfly, favorite band episode? I like the South Park episode 200 in 2001. How many cats do you have? My favorite band episode, probably that Simpsons one. Is it still banned? I have 3 cats. Embla T, in the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong, do you think someone's corns will be hurting? Do you think Adam Wingard is smart enough referencing the corns? I'm sure he won't. But I noticed like when they did Skull Island, they referenced the octopus thing. So that director was smart enough. He should just do it, actually. That guy who hated honest trailers, yeah, wasn't his the best one anyway? Just have him do it. Zane Powers, who's better, Eyelash Castle or Jerkface in the Stupid? You already asked me that. Did I answer that? It's Jerkface and the Stupids, right? I forget what I said. Bloxy Oxenwinkle, do you think I should get an air fryer? Maybe. I haven't even used mine. I need to do that. Daniel Fogo, what's the real Slim Shady and can he please stand up? Who's the real... It's Eminem. He's uncancelable, I guess. Is the only way to remain informed to be miserable? A little bit. What if they release the unedited cuts of Star Wars as NFTs? Then it's totally fine. Why didn't anyone try to do that? That would be a good one. What would be worse, the air cut or restored Snyderverse? Probably the Snyderverse, I guess. Okay. Question from Zane Powers: What's something when you were a kid that you thought was proof of ghosts that was stupid? With me, it was the TV schedule being incorrect. Oh, I thought it was just like things moving around or coincidences. Bruce Parker, are you aware of Studio DC Almost Live, a Muppet / Disney Channel crossover with 2000? No, I didn't. That sounds cool. What's the longest time you went without bathing? Probably when I was 13 for a couple days, and my mom was like, no, take a bath. Do you drink Red Bulls? How do you drink Red Bulls this late, Coral Tender? I don't know. Only this night I really do it. What is your favorite anime, both TV and movie and TV? Probably Cowboy Bebop and Akira, maybe? I don't know. All right, one last question from Cornbread, and then Nattenbox 64. What the heck, Jim? The movie crap March Live 2021 Razzie thumbnail still lost me. Yeah, this is a joke, don't worry. That's funny. Nattenbox, do you prefer drink shaken or stirred? Probably stirred. All right. I think that's this. We have gone super late. Everyone stopped watching at this point. But at some point, I had a lot of people watching. And thank you for watching. Thank you, everyone, for your generosity, for super chats. I really very much appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. So, yeah, this is the latest we've ever gone, but it's time to call it a night. But thank you for being here. I thought we did a good show. It was an epic show. Olive was here. We covered a lot. Subscribe this week. Falcon Winter Soldier will be out Sunday. Movie review vote will be out Monday. Those will not be live premieres. They'll be ones later in the week. I'm hoping to have the new Godzilla vs. King Kong. Friday, but we'll see if that happens. Anyway, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And you all have a good night and a great Sunday. And I will see you all next time. And subscribe if you would like to. See you later. Peace.